Mary Trump celebrated President-elect Joe Biden's victory on Saturday after he defeated her uncle in the race for the White House. President Trump's niece shared a photo on Twitter of her sitting on a beach wearing a Biden-Harris hat while holding a glass of champagne. To America. Thanks, guys, the caption read. Mary Trump published a tell-all book earlier this year titled Too Much and Never Enough: How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man, and has been a frequent critic of the president. In her book, Mary Trump wrote that she considered speaking out in 2016 about the ways in which she knew her uncle was completely unqualified to be president. She wrote that the past 3 years of the Trump administration have forced my hand and I can no longer remain silent. If he is afforded a second term, it would be the end of American democracy. Damn. President Trump pushed back on her claims in August after she published the work and released recordings of family members talking about him, with the president calling her unstable, which is ironic. She later sued her family in September over allegations that they committed fraud in order to deprive her of her family interest in the Trump family business and enrich themselves. So, this story really isn't about Biden winning, although that was the main thing people were up in arms about. They were all celebrating and cheering. Um, I've talked a couple of times about how there are certain things I've defended Trump from over the course of the last 3 years. And one of them was that a lot of times you had these people who would come out and say, "Oh, I've diagnosed him and he's unstable and he's not mentally fit," and they would um, diagnose him from afar, because all of these psychiatrists you would see on TV were not people who had actually sat down with him and had some kind of ability to actually know what he thinks and whatnot. But with her, it was always really interesting because I can't think of a relative, certainly, one that's a niece or a nephew or a son or a daughter or a father or a mother of a president in recent history that not only doesn't support the candidacy or the presidency of the person they're related to, but is so adamant about, yes, do not let them stay in office any longer. And, you know, this is the kind of thing where you have to ask yourself, what would be her motive for being so antagonistic to him? Because we've seen that his siblings have all been supportive, the living ones anyway. I know he had a brother who died from alcohol, which I believe is her father, actually. But we've seen his siblings be supportive of him being president. We've seen his children all be supportive, his wives. Uh, it's really jarring to have her be this adamant, antagonistic force that not only says, "I don't support my uncle, but I also support the people who are running against him." And I'm going to write a book and tell you about how unstable he is and how much of a danger he'll be. I mean, she really said if he were to have had a second term, it would have been the end of American democracy. It's not even just, "I think he wouldn't have done a good job." You will destroy the whole system. Jesus. But again, I think it kind of sucks in the way that she came out, because a lot of people aren't going to really listen to the point she makes. They're just going to say, "Oh, she's credible because she's someone who's related to him." When we have had candidates in the past who've had their members of their family come out and attack them. So, I think it's a little bit unfair, but it is really shocking how much she hates him.